बिल्लाहि मिनश शैतानिर रजीम बिस्मिल्लाहिर रहमानिर रहीम रब्बि इश्रह ली सदरी व यस्सिर ली अमरी वहलुल उक़दतम मिन लिसानी यफ़क़हू क़ौली रब्बि ज़िदनी इल्मा रब्बि रज़ुक़नी इल्मा अल्लाहुम्मा अरिनिल हक़्क़ हक़्क़न warzuqna इत्तिबाअह व अरिनिल बातिला बातिलन warzuqna इज्तनाबह व तवक्कल अलैह व कफ़ा बिल्लाहि वकीला सुब्हानल्लाहि व बिहम्दिही सुब्हानल्लाहिल अज़ीम. For most of us, the human experience is lived wandering the bazaars of life. And those are full, noisy, glittering bazaars of life. Vendors selling their wares. Come, mere paas aao, get this. Look how beautiful this is. Look how relevant this is. Look how amazing I am. Look, you need this. Look, you should stay here for a little while longer. Have chai with me. Sit down more. You don't need to keep traveling. So these bazaars of life, these noisy, crowded, glittering bazaars of life, are very much for the nafs, very much for the time and space experience that we are having as a human being. But the soul wants something else. And when I say something else, I don't mean that the soul does not want to be in this bazaar. Because the usual aspect of spirituality is the soul does not want to be in this bazaar, would rather be on a mountaintop or in a forest or meditating upon itself and upon its own reality in a room. That's a part of what the soul desires. But the reason why the soul wanted to come into this human experience was because it wanted to walk through that bazaar. Without that bazaar, it is not a relevant human experience. But what it really wanted was not to be so engrossed in the glitteriness of it and to continue to find a way through it. Or also in another way, what it wanted was, as all the people are calling out to it, come to me, it wanted to hear this one voice that did not want anything else from it, but it felt like home. It felt like it was a voice that was going to take it cases which were familiar. It felt like that voice had sukoon in it. It felt like maa ka pyar. It felt like a soft voice. And that voice, through all the noise of the bazaar, would say, hey, come, this is the way. Come, this is the way. And to be able to hear that voice in the crowdiness and in the so muchness of our everyday life and of our overall life, just to be able to hear that voice, come, this is the way, is what the soul came here to experience. And the challenge that the soul gave to its own self, my Madiha soul gave to my own self was, would I still be here? Would my ears, which are designed to take so much impetus, so much input from the physical world, from the sensorial world, would my ears still remember the sound of that voice? One, but no, before that, would my soul still know how to tune into that voice, which is almost between and above and through all the other voices? And then would my soul recognize the owner of that voice? When that voice says, come, this is the way, would my soul remember? So these wombs that we call our ears, subhanallah, these wombs, it is shaped like a womb also. And everything that flows into it also forms what is within us. So this call of azan, hayya alal salah, hayya alal falah, come, this is the way. This call of azan, would we still remember and would we recognize who the owner of that azan is? That's why we came here, for this human experience. In Surah Ar-Rum, which is Surah 30, Ayah 30, it speaks of why we know we all have that voice calling out to us. And it also speaks of how our ears, our eyes, and all our senses are originally designed to tune into that voice through the voice of that crowded bazaar. And the ayah says, so direct your face toward the religion, inclining to the truth. Adhere to the fitrah of Allah upon which He has created all people. Adhere to the fitrah. So there is an original design, original divine blueprint we have all been created in. And the divine blueprint is designed to tune in, the voice of its creator and designed to recognize it. Through every aspect of our senses, we know who we are, we know what light is, we know why we were created. So everything that is not Allah, is the absence of that light. And the reason why there is no darkness because the only thing darkness is the absence of light. It is that experience we came here to experience, born through the darkness of the womb, born into the darkness of the world, born with veils upon our hearts, subhanallah, born through all of these darknesses, knowing that all this darkness it does not have an absolute reality. It is just the absence of light. And then to know why do we recognize the absence of light? Why can we not be creatures of the dark? Why does darkness scare us so much? Why do these veils scare us so much? Because the veils are of fear, of pain, of chaos, of inflicting harm upon another. These things don't make us feel good. Why? Why is it not easy for us to cheat another or to hurt another or to kill another without not being able to do right, but without us not feeling in the depth of us, without not us feeling the fang of poison that it inflicts within our system. Why? Because our system is made upon the fitrah of Allah. Our system is based upon Noor. It is created in Noor. It is a divine system. And that system, when you pour darkness into it, it is like when you pour this black ink or blood into a beautiful, clear lake of water. It begins to get muddy. And subhanAllah, the way this experience of feeling muddled or being muddled as a human being is described, there are 5 words that compose a human being in Quran. 5 words. And notice how, of course, 2 on top, 2 at the bottom, and there is 1 in the middle. The first one is Aqal, which is the immaterial quality that always moves towards the intelligible, something intelligent, Aqal. Then there is the Nafs. Nafs is the Rooh that is directed towards the lower condition, towards the world, towards the body. There's the QALB that oscillates between the 2 opposites. There is Fuaad, which are the benefits of the heart, when we receive and when we perceive Allah. And the middle of this is Rooh. Rooh, which is the spirit directed towards ultimate reality. So the baseline on which we've been created, is our Rooh is embedded in the Noor of Allah. It is directed, subhanAllah, look at the ayah in Surah Ar-Rum. The ayah says, what is it? Turn your face towards what is the right path, towards the natural way. Hanifan fitratullah, upon which all mankind is created. Let there be no change in this creation of Allah. That is the right way. That is the fitrah, the natural way. But most people do not know. So our Aqal, which is our intellect, which wants to get into Aksar and Jadala in Surah Kahf. Insan is the more argumentative of all creation. Aksar and Jadala, there's these mazes and these mind games and these conundrums that we like to intertwine ourselves in. This Aqal, which when not directed towards the ultimate reality becomes it pulls us down. But when directed towards the ultimate reality, it is the one that sets us free, because the Aqal in surrender to the Rooh, begins to receive its benefit, begins to receive the reason of why it was created, begins to receive the gift of reasoning rooted in the ultimate reality. And then of course there's the Nafs, which is the part of the Rooh that is directed towards the world. And that Nafs wants things. It wants things. But remember, Nafs and Aqal and the Qalb, all 3 of them are designed to center back themselves into the Rooh to receive the Fuaad, the benefits of the heart, when we come back to directing our face, directing our direction towards the ultimate reality. And the Nafs, which wants things, which wants to, almost feels like you create a safe space for a little child. And say you put them in a beautiful boundary and you give them beautiful balls to play with and everything else that the child needs, and the child is well fed and well taken care of. But then the child sees something that's beautifully distracting and it jumps out of its crib, or it begins to take away the the boundary walls and wants to walk towards that bright light that it saw, that beautiful sound that it heard, beautiful quote unquote sound that it heard, but it just wants to walk away from that grip. So the nafs is always in action, always in motion towards something, because every sight, every sound is distracting for the Rooh, but is satisfying for the nafs, because as long as it is moving towards something, it doesn't have to sit in one place and sit as in bring itself to a moment of stillness to be able to remember the voice of their Rabb and the call back home. It doesn't have to do that. It doesn't have to tune itself out of the glitter of this world and tune in to the noor of themselves they've been created in. So the nafs is a forward-moving momentum always, but the forward-moving momentum in a distracting way, because the Rooh is also designed to evolve, designed to know more and absorb more, but not distracted by the wants and desires of this world. That's the difference. And to be this conflict point, this tension point between the intellect and the nafs, right here between what I want and what I believe I deserve. What I want, the Aqal, Nafs, and Nafs, what I believe I deserve. This tension point that exists and has the potential to elevate us or to keep us into the dungeons of ourselves is the qalb. And the qalb, remember, the root word of qalb is the one that keeps turning. The one that keeps turning, it's never stationary. So to believe that we as people have found, or as souls have found our place of center, have found enlightenment, have found what it feels like to stay rooted within our system at all times, is the illusion. Because we have the 5 composing parts of a human being in Quran: Aqal, Nafs, Qalb. We're always turning, there's always going to be something that will pull us there, and we will always have to exercise the discipline upon ourselves to pull ourselves back. So this dance between the two opposites, this oscillation between the two opposites, is a constant state of the human experience. But if we were to be able to discipline ourselves, then when we discipline ourselves as what? Turn towards the Kaaba. What is the Kaaba? It is the nafs, the fitrah, not the nafs, the fitrah upon which the human, what is Kaaba is symbolic of the light of Allah, which we all carry within ourselves. And so you'd notice that people who are in, or souls who are in the Vajd ka alam would do sajda anywhere, because as human beings, we need an anchor. As human beings, we need a Kaaba. But the soul carries that Kaaba within itself, and that's a very different kind of soul that most of us, perhaps, maybe it is our journey, but that's a different kind of control, a different kind of composure of the Rooh, not a control, a composure of the Rooh. But receiving the Fuaad, the benefits of this, deliberately turning our attention, turning our face towards the fitrah of us, the fitrah of light, is why we came here. And the word for soul, which is Rooh, is also the word for soul in Quran is Nafas, which is breath. So closely interlinked with nafs. So the breath is also the compass, the navigator, the captain that helps direct the direction of our qalb. And the beautiful Hadees, as we bring the 5 components together, is intelligence is when you discipline your soul and work for what is coming. And so the entire experience of aligning ourselves upon the fitrah of us, back to the fitrah of us, this disciplining of the nafs is based upon 3, in other energy systems, we have the 7 chakras, right? But if you go to other ancient practices, they don't look at 7 chakra, 7 healing centers. They look at 3 energy cauldrons. Subhanallah. And look at how in Hadees, the way this nafs has been structured in 3 energy cauldrons. The first one is the rational, the one that wants to reason, the intellectual nafs here upon the head. And the sin of this nafs is ignorance. The second is the emotional nafs, the one which is driven by will. I want this. There's all the solar plexuses and the sacrals of the world are right here, right here. Our heart as well, of course. The heart and solar and the sacral. So that's the second structure in Hadees. The third one, which is the base, the root one, is pleasure, the base nafs. And literally at the end of it, however we want to do it, at the end of it, it is pleasure. So these are three energy centers, the three energy cauldrons: rationality, will, and appetite, which dictate the entire motivations of the nafs. And it is these three things. If we were horsemen, horsewomen, and if we want to ride the horse of nafs, these are the three things that we need to be able to control. Our intellect, control, no, command, redirect. Control, again, is a nafs factor, nafs way of looking at wanting to own something and wanting to subject something to its will. So if we think we want to control our thoughts, that means our emotional nafs is in play. You can't control your thoughts. The emotional nafs says, I would like to control my thoughts. No, I want to understand what my thoughts are, which is the orientation of a nafs, which is receiving the fuaad, the benefit of intellect. I want to understand where my thoughts are. I want to understand why they're there. And then gently, I'd like to redirect them to the original direction of their fitrah. So there's an original direction of the fitrah of the intellectual nafs as well, because all of it stems from one noor. And that noor is pure and it's perfect and it is clear, it is just, it is in balance. Subhanallah, insan has been created as ahsanul taqweem, the ahsan, the more, we didn't have to create him in such utter beauty with ihsan upon it. Things that it did not need, we have given to it as a gift from us. Ahsanul taqweem, हमने उसको क़याम किया, ना सिर्फ उसको create किया, हमने उसको establish किया, उसको कायम किया. Kaim matlab we directed the resources of the universe to serve its intellectual nafs, its emotional nafs, and its base nafs. But when we are directing it towards its fitrah, then we begin to receive the benefits of the qiyam jiske andar hame qaim kiya gaya. And there are beautiful benefits, which is why disconnecting ourselves from this world, ungrounding ourselves in the search of our spiritual affairs at the expense of human relationships is not our fitrah. Our fitrah has been created at an intellectual level, an emotional level, and at a base level. To deny ourselves of our humanity and believing that we can reach for our spirituality, for our divinity, is a moot concept for a nafs which has the potential of being nafis, of beautiful, through the nafas, which is the breath. This is Ibn Arabi. And so when we believe that we want to control our thoughts, that is our emotional nafs, wanting that control. When we believe that we want love, we want to be loved, we want to be admired, we want to be elevated from amongst the group of people that we are, we will use any pathway for that elevation, whether it's Quran, we will use it, for Hadees, we will use it. As an orator, we will use it. As a great socializer, we will use it with contacts, connections, whatever pathways we want to take, so that we are admired, so that we're elevated. This is the desire of the emotional nafs. Subhanallah, I don't remember the fullness of that hadith, but the first person to enter, and this is a verified hadith, one first person to enter into astaghfirullah, the fires of Jahannam, would be a person of dawah, would be a person of dawah. And when Allah Ta'ala is, or the angels are asked, or Allah Ta'ala is asked as to why this person, because he used to do dawah, why is he entering the fire of hell? And he said the reason why he wanted to do dawah, the emotional nafs, the reason why he wanted to do dawah was because he wanted to be liked. He wanted to be admired. He wanted people to look up to him. And he was. And he was. So he got what he desired. He's back at point zero. We believe that we understand our nafs. We believe that we understand, or it's interesting also because we become familiar with the workings, being familiar with our own shadows, that's the thing, or being familiar with our own triggers, that's the thing, being familiar of our own behavioral patterns, that's the thing. And we believe all of these are what we now know. Therefore, now we are in control of. We know who we are and what our shadows are and what our traumas are and what our history is. We know is a shadow. It's the intellectual nafs. We know. What do you know? Do you understand the shadow behind the shadow, behind the shadow, behind the shadow, beneath the shadow? You do not know. Who knows? Allah does. Your fitrah knows. The fitrah, which is connected like an umbilical cord is connected to its mother. Your fitrah knows. Give in, surrender. When you think you know, your own motivation, subhanallah, of doing something, even if you think that your motivation is so pure in doing something, question your own motivation for you to receive the wisdom of that motivation. It may be, I'm not saying it always is, it may be it is pure, but it may be that there is a deeper shadow that it's hiding, because the intellectual nafs and the emotional nafs and the base nafs are best friends. These are energy cauldrons. We're all absolutely in sync with each other, and they're all designed to keep me interested more in the bazaar than that call that says, come, this is the way. And if I were to tune in to come, this is the way, then that means that I have to question every desire. That means I have to question every want. That means I have to question every dua, a specific dua that I ever make. That means that I have to question those as to why I want these things. And then I have to question it, and be ready when I begin to receive the darkness or the light. But in this case, in my case specifically, the darkness that comes with why I want to do things. Subhanallah. The darkness that I have to come to terms, and I have to be able to look at my own darkness in the mirror and recognize and surrender to the fact, this is the actual reason why I wanted to do it. And that is I want to say a humbling point, but I'm being polite. That is a point that brings one down to our knees. Because just last night, I was saying, Allah Ta'ala, save me from my own nafs. Because for all of us who are now used to being on spiritual journeys within ourselves, there's so many, there is a glitteriness of the outside bazaar, but subhanallah, they're equally glittery inside bazaar. And those inside bazaars are even more powerfully riveting, because they would call you, now come this way. Now you are enlightened, come this way. Now 5 more disciplines and 5 more Hadees and more depth of Quran. Wow, come this way. Wow. Be still inside bazaars. It would have been so simpler, because फिर तो हम लोगों ने सिर्फ आंखें बंद करनी होती हैं. अगर हम लोग आंखें बंद कर लें तो we can tune out of outside bazaars. But it's not as simple, because अंदर एक अलहता मेला लगा, और वो जो अंदर का जो मेला है, that's even more shadowed, even more veiled, because it's hiding under the guise of light. And so and that is where the part of the emotional nafs, the heart, the sacred, the heart, the solar, and the sacral, all 3 of them work together for our inside bazaar. Outside bazaar ke liye hamara lower nafs, the base nafs, and intellectual nafs काफी है. लेकिन inside bazaar का पूरा जो ठेका उठाया हुआ है, या जिनको हम लोगों ने लीज पे दिया हुआ है, वो जो लीज है वो इन तीनों सेंटर्स के अंदर लीज है. And these centers are the most wounded centers we live with. The heart, the solar, and the sacral, the most wounded centers, the emotional centers, the most wounded centers we live with. बस इनके जख्म जो है वो जनरेशन है. इनके जो जख्म है वो इतने इंटेलिजेंट जख्म है, because all of these 3 nafs are hyper intelligent nafs, right? इनके जख्म इतने हाइपर इंटेलिजेंट हैं कि वो अपने आप को रिवील भी नहीं करते हैं, because they're so scared of their own pain that comes and that they're hiding within it. They don't even reveal themselves. So to be able to hear that one sound, and it's a consistent sound, subhanallah, it is that consistent sound. Come, this is the way. Other vendors inside that inner bazaar would also tell us, come, this is the way. They will also tell us, whether it's, shamanic healing or spiritual healing or Reiki healing or namaz healing or dawa healing or Quran healing or Hadees, हर एक की एक अपनी wounded आवाज है जो कहती है, come, this is the way. और वो सारी wounded आवाजों में से हमें कुछ ना कुछ फवाद, कुछ ना कुछ benefit मिलता है, but in its entirety हम लोग receive नहीं कर पाते हैं, because we begin to become stagnant in that place and begin to feel this is the only way. But then there is the way, come, this is the way. And that the way, that one voice that we can help tune into and recognize there was only one way to, and there is, subhanallah, there is only one way to recognize that one, which is come, this is the way, which is hayya al salah, hayya al falah, the call of azan. It is, because it feels like every time when we want to understand our nafs, the three parts of our nafs, which is the intellectual nafs, the emotional nafs, and the base nafs, when we want to understand these three better, we step onto this journey. That means that we are on the journey to discipline ourselves. And this disciplining ourselves is the concept of discipline. The concept of discipline are not big things. It's not big things. It's not the big revolutions. It's not the big goals that we set for ourselves. It's the small things done consistently in bite-sized piecemeals. Bite-sized. Subhanallah, look at the concept of namaz. 5 bite-sized piecemeal consistent things. Why? Because it is purifying. Say that there is a bombardment of noise coming at us across all our senses, and there is a very soft noise. But कोई चीख रहा होता है तो soft आवाज आसान नहीं है, क्योंकि हमें आदत नहीं है उस आवाज को सुनने की. उन चीखों के बीच में से एक आवाज को के अंदर ट्यून इन करने की. So a mother, for example, is already tuned into her baby's voice, especially a younger बच्चा या special needs bacha, whatever. You just tuned into your bacha's voice, right? आप जहां भी हो, like कभी वो दिल की आवाज होती है, कभी वो physical आवाज होती है, but आप जहां भी हो, you recognize your bacha's voice in distress. Now flip it. We are not used to hearing our mother's voice. We're not. So we have to train ourselves to be able to hear that voice, which is unlike all other voices, even if they are narrating ayahs of Quran, even if they are narrating hadith. There still is not the purity of that voice. And that purity of that voice, we can only train ourselves to do beyond the noise, is through hayya al salah, hayya al falah. It can only be namaz. It can only be namaz because it is designed to discipline the nafs. Discipline the nafs, not the way that a cruel owner trains their pet. No. एक तो इसके अंदर बड़ा ड्रामा है ना, cruel owner and pet. ये भी बहुत बड़ा ड्रामा है. But हैं तो यही नहीं. एक मालिक हैं और हम उनके गुलाम हैं. Slaves to the malkiyat, to his malkiyat. Slaves. And as Allah is my witness, how my nafs has rebelled against this word, slave. No, not me. I free. I free. I will. I want. I shall. Slaves to his malkiyat. But what a malik. Subhanallah, what a malik. Malik al-Quddus. Ye wo malik hai. Because he will not use a cruel way to train us. He doesn't have to use it. We have to rebel a very long time for us to be able to learn through pain. We don't have to do it. Namaz is designed for us not to have to rebel to such a point where he has to create a situation where because our soul still wants to learn, the soul came here to be able to tune into that voice, to be able to recognize that voice, come, this is the way. The soul will continue to move. Usko agar aap hamari body cheat phaad ke bhi nikalna pade, wo niklegi. It's the same आवाज that it has to answer to जब उनको बुलाएंगे वापस घर आ जाओ, which is our death, which is our मौत and our re-meeting. हम लोग जब वापस जाएंगे वही आवाज. So the soul is trained and designed to recognize that voice. उसने नहीं देखना, and this is now I'm speaking of, उसने नहीं देखना कि हमारे कितने बच्चे हैं, हम कितने लोग हमारे पर डिपेंड कर रहे हैं, या हमारे कितने ड्रीम्स हैं, या हमने भी कितना चीज ठीक करनी है. उसने नहीं देखना. Allah Ta'ala आवाज देगी मदिहा come back home, my soul will leave my body, it'll just leave, it'll just go, and I will just be here, right? It's a simple action reaction gone. It's the same voice that we're trained to recognize here. And that training is in namaz. Its training is in namaz. And namaz ki training is not, it's not, for the long, again, my relationship with was namaz was कि मुझे खूबसूरती से पढ़नी है, मुझे प्यार से पढ़नी है, मुझे इश्क में पढ़नी है, मुझे वो सजदे इश्क के करने हैं भाई. Look at the nafs that you're trying to train. वो उसको खूबसूरती और इश्क की नहीं इतनी चीजें पढ़ी हैं, वो अपने शैडोज के अंदर अच्छा खासा होके के बैठा हुआ है. At this stage, just show up. Just show up. You don't have the faculties to be able to do the fazoo in the most beautiful way, in a haseen way. Do whatever you can, show up. Just no matter what, show up. अगर वजू करने की जगह नहीं है, ऊपर तयम्मुम का हमें दिया. However you are, in whichever हालत you are, because you know what, सुभान अल्लाह, एक आप जब अल्लाह के दरबार में हाजिर, एक तो आप हो एक तो आप हो, फिर उनके फरिश्ते तो हैं, और कितनी पूरे कायनातों की मखलूकें हैं जो बगैर पूछे, बगैर चाहे, बगैर मांगे उनकी इबादत कर रही हैं. वो तो है, पर एक आप हो, आप आए हो अपनी मर्जी से. तो जब आप अल्लाह के दरबार में जाते हो, and I like to visualize it at the time that I stand up for namaz, very recently, it's not a longer term practice, I like to visualize it कि जब मैं अल्लाह के दरबार में, जैसे मैं अल्लाह अकबर करती हूँ, मैं क़याम में खड़ी होती हूँ, मैं अल्लाह के दरबार में जाती हूँ, ऐसे जैसे एक कोर्ट में मैं गई हूँ और पूरी कोर्ट की रोशन हो गई. And of course I can't perceive Allah because he cannot be perceived, but there I know I can tune into the angelic presences, right? But सारे साइड पे हो जाते because I have a right. Subhanallah. And in that moment, the honor that the soul feels from its creator, that soul is not, Allah Ta'ala is not looking at how, Subhanallah, he's not looking at how clean I am, how impure I am, how pure I am, she's there. I showed up. The discipline of the nafs, depending on how wounded the nafs is. And Subhanallah, mine has been, and for most of us, it's been an extremely wounding journey, generationally. वो नफ्स आया है, पीछे हट जाओ फरिश्तों, मेरी बेटी मुझसे मिलने आई. That's it. Now, whether we can hold that frequency or not, whether we can tune for a longer time, for me, it's hardly 2 seconds, 3 seconds. But you know what? For a thirsty soul, and we know that. एक प्यासे के लिए 2 कतरे काफी होते. My soul receives whatever it needs. For those 2 seconds are subhanallah enough for me. And yes, the rest of my qiyam and the rest of my ruku and my sujood are beyond below par. Everything that's happening in the world is within my intellectual nafs, except for where I am, which is in the darbar of Allah. But subhanallah, those 2 seconds are enough for me. And for those 2 seconds, I will show up. And for those 2 seconds when I cannot show up and I do not show up, my heart is palpitating like चिड़िया की तरह पर फड़फड़ा रहे होते हैं मेरे दिल के अंदर. कल्ब, why? Because my qalb knows कि अगर मैं उधर मुंह नहीं करूंगी काबा की तरफ, तो मैंने दूसरी तरफ तो मुंह करना ही करना है. There is no middle ground for my qalb, not here in this human experience. So why do we feel this dissatisfaction when we're not showing up for the ultimate disciplinary practice, which is namaz? Why? Because अगर हम लोग काबा की तरफ मुंह नहीं कर रहे हैं, तो हमारा मुंह किसी और तरफ होगा. And this is a universe of duality. So there is only what is and what is not. Only light and darkness. If we are not back to our fitrah, which is in the court in the presence of Noor, then we're elsewhere. And we know that elsewhere, या तो ये होता है कि elsewhere जो है वो बहुत ही hospitable होता है elsewhere, और वो बहुत ही satisfying होता है, और हमें सुकून मिल रहा होता है elsewhere से. Let's call that darkness elsewhere. Why are we so, if या तो ये होता कि that dunya in its darkness or in its elsewhereness would that was really satisfying. It were really satisfying, but it's not. Because हम लोग सदियां गुजार सकते हैं, decades गुजार सकते हैं, but there is a restlessness within us, and that restlessness is disease, heart disease or brain disease or emotional disease, whatever it is. There is I'm away from home, I'm away from my fitrah. तो अगर हम नूर में क्रिएटेड ना होते, अगर हमारी फितरा किबला ना होती, अगर हमारी फितरत नूर ना होती, तो हमें क्या मसला था दुनिया से? बट मसला तो यही है कि हमारी फितरत कुछ और हमारी फितरत कुछ और है। एंड जब हम लोग अपनी फितरत की तरफ अपना मुंह नहीं रखते हैं, तो वो जो दूसरी साइड है वो हमारी फितरत नहीं है। एट द एंड ऑफ इट, दैट्स ऑल देयर इज। इट इज ईदर अपॉन द फितरा और इट्स नॉट। And we can go to Allah and say, you know what, I'm struggling. I'm struggling to remain upon my fitrah. But acknowledge this, subhanallah, the honor of a soul which acknowledges the fact that there is a fitrah. And may this acknowledgement and starting an awareness of the fact, which is why la ilaha illa anta subhanaka inni kuntu minaz zalimin, in the acknowledgement of the fact that is a fitrah, ya Allah, I'm not being able to stay upon. Help me. Help me. And this call out for help, the acknowledgement of the fact that मैं नूर में हूँ, is wahdiyat. It is la ilaha illallah. क्या और क्या कलमा है? Allah does not, he does not need for me to acknowledge him. He does not need my sajda. What is tawheed in a universe which is in sajda to its Lord? What is tawheed? वो उनके लिए क्या tawheed? Why does he need my shahadat? Why does he need it? No. It is for me. I need to know who I am. And I need to know whose I am. And I need to know the honor in which I've been created. And I need to know the noor in which I've been bathed. And I need to know कि मेरे अंदर किसकी रूह फूंकी गई है. And I need to know what I'm worth. I need to know all of that as I step into the day of this dunya, which will tell me, come stay here, come like me, come stay with me a little bit. Oh, I really like you. Why don't you do this and this and this? And that is not upon my fitrah. This is too distracting for me. But I need to, for me to be able to recognize these are distractions, for me to be able to recognize this desire that I really want right now is not serving, it's not giving me fuad. मेरी रूह नफ्स को वो मिल सकता है, बट मैंने नफ्स को नफीस पे लेके जाना। मैं खाली नफ्स के साथ ओके नहीं हूँ, बिकॉज वो नफ्स, अगर मैं खाली नफ्स के साथ ओके होती तो फिर जिंदगी में तो कोई मसला ही नहीं था। बट मसला ये है कि नफ्स इज नॉट इनफ, and we are directed towards, we are pulled, we are auto designed towards Noor. And you know, in this context, then, if and just to, because this is not my point of view. Subhanallah, look at the concept of what is called evil or shar or fitna or kufr in Islam. Okay, because we understand that either we are upon the fitrah or we're not upon the fitrah. So then, if we are not upon the fitrah, is darkness, is evil absolute, complete on its own? And we've just understood that it's not. All darkness is the absence of light. Subhanallah. Get this. The word for evil, and I really, subhanallah, this is why Quran, it's a river that keeps on giving, and I don't know what kind of benefit that it assembles from, like all multicultural aspects of the universe, and it brings all those benefits onto our banks. Subhanallah, check this out. So the word for shar, the word for evil in Quran is shar. Okay, now shar means a defect. Subhanallah, the shar means a defect. It is not absolute on its own as a reality. It means a defect. In Old English, it's a privation, something that's been deprived of something, a lack of something. It's an illness, a privation, but because it's been deprived of something. In Arabic, shar is called khafa. In Hebrew, it's called khafa. In Arabic, it's called khafiya. And you know what khafa, khafiya, what they all mean? It means to miss the mark. To miss the mark. All are archery terms, and it means to miss the mark. Subhanallah, there is a fitrah, which is the bullseye point, that is absolutely there as an absolute existence. Allah is an absolute existence. There's no relativity to the absoluteness of Allah, which is Tawheed. To not be able to connect back with our fikrah, to not be able to hit that bullseye, that is shar. Subhanallah, that is shar. It doesn't exist except for the fact that we have not been able to connect with the bulls. We've not been able to aim at and land at the bull point, whatever it is, the main point. So we've missed the mark. It doesn't have reality without light. It's just the absence of light. Fitna The word that is used, and you know कि हमारे 3 किस्म के फितना है, एक अल्लाह की तरफ से फितना है, एक नफ्स का ज़ात का फितना है, और कुछ लोग फितना है हमारे लिए. तो 3 किस्म के फितना have been talked about in Quran and been explained in Hadees also. फितना का रूट वर्ड इज व्हाट? फितन. जो क्रैक, जो सेपरेट करता है, जो क्रैक करता है. किस चीज से सेपरेट करता है? वो क्या सेपरेट क्या कर रहा है? किस चीज से कर रहा है सेपरेट? वो क्रैक्स किस चीज के अंदर आ रहे हैं? देयर इज एन ओरिजिनल बेड ऑफ नूर जो इस फितना की वजह से क्रैक हो. Everything is in a divine noor cauldron, holding the intellectual and the emotional and the base nerves. Everything is in that, and to be away from that cauldron, to be away, to feel cracked, to not be able to connect to its center, shut. When our nerve feel cracked because we're not being able to connect the wholeness of it, which is fitna. This is what evil is, and subhanallah, you know, in Arabic, there's a saying: in opposite things are known. So it's not as if fitna, it does not as if shar does not serve a purpose, because remember, Allah has created everything in a beautiful qadar. Qadar means in beautiful absolute measure, assigned to specific things. Evil, shar, when we miss the mark or when we separate from the whole, has a purpose to serve, because in opposites things are known. In through the darkness we find the light. Through the womb of darkness we come out into the light. So to bring out the virtues of who we are, to bring out the virtues of our divine blueprint, human being was created. अंदर एक नूर छुपा है और उसके आसपास हमने रैप की हुई है स्किन और बोन्स और हमारे सारे सिस्टम्स को. और वो स्किन और बोन्स के जो सारे सिस्टम्स हैं वो डार्कनेस से लपेटे हुए हैं, वेल से लपेटे हुए हैं. इस दुनिया वेल से लपेटी हुई है. And to be able to access back our divinity, we have to unwrap the humanity, the nafs part of us, bit by bit, so that we can access it. So this human existence serves a purpose, to be able to bring out our noor qualities, the noor qualities, subhanallah, of submission, of sabr, of forgiveness, of acceptance, surrender without judgment. So to this aspect of unveiling the nafs is the origin, the blooming of the original noor that is already within us. And so the core is, you know, of why is shar something that's missed its mark? Why is shar equal to a defect? Because everybody, the core understanding, this is why Arwa is my daughter. This is why Allah Ta'ala loves being the thing that is most dear to Allah, beyond everything else, is when we expect the best from Allah, which is husnul bin, I don't remember the term. So when you expect the best from Allah, because you know why? That's Allah. Insan, why? Because the core of this tension point of training our nafs, the core is everybody wants good. Everybody wants good. Even the most evil human being wants good. But the light of the Rooh, which is directed towards its fitrah, is dim, because the lens of the nafs hasn't been polished. And so it's looking out through an opaque lens. It's a muddled lens. उस opaque lens में जब हमारा intellect reach out करता है, अब देखो ना, हम लोग अंदर बैठे हुए हैं, say we're in a space suit, which is what, although we take our bodies and our skins for granted, so we don't look at them as space suits, right? Because that's who we are, but that's not who we are. We are Rooh, having a human experience. And now, if we were to then look from inside out, we're not meant to look at our Rooh from outside. Now look from inside out. From inside out, our Rooh inside is now looking out into the world. तो अगर नफ्स जो है वो गदला है, तो उसकी सारी चीजें गदली होंगी. तो जब हम कहते हैं कि we are manifesting desires, हम लोग कहते हैं कि we're manifesting the life that we want, then notice, bring to your awareness the lens through which you want to manifest this desire, the lens in which that desire is grown. वो कौन सी मिट्टी है जिसमें वो desire grow कर रही है? उस मिट्टी की डेप्थ, उस मिट्टी का हक क्या है? क्या वो मिट्टी अपनी फितरा के ऊपर है? और वो फितरा के ऊपर मिट्टी जो है उसका, more and more I'm beginning to understand, more and more, that all the most beautiful things of the world which have been given to us as gifts, as the sunnah of our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The most beautiful things that have been given to us are beautiful supplementary things that feed our soul. But if at any point we want to be absolutely sure whether we will be able to receive the wisdom of our desires, whether they are muddled or clear, whether they're upon the fitrah or not, is if we have been in the practice of disciplining our souls. And the only practice of disciplining our soul is through namaz. And subhanallah, I'm not saying that I am a namazi. मैं ये नहीं कह रही कि मैं नमाज कायम करने वाली हूँ. But I know it's the same principle. I know that I am not upon my fitrah. It's a powerful statement to make, and it's an honored statement to make, and it is the one that is honored and celebrated and elevated amongst all heavens of Allah, subhanallah, ones that we know of and ones that we do not know of. Because मैं ये नहीं कह रही कि मैं नमाज मेरे लिए जरूरी नहीं है क्योंकि मैं ये सारी चीजें करती हूँ. मैं कह रही हूँ कि नमाज trains me to my fitrah. I can never ever take my nafs for granted. So when I'm not doing namaz, I'm not upon my fitrah. That's it. That's all we're asked to do. Subhanallah, that's all we're asked to do. And even if we then, the regret of a moment is more dear to Allah than the ibadat of the moment. I really seriously need for us to tune into that. The reason why I need for all of us to tune into it, because I've been holding on to this with dear life as far as I'm concerned with my. It's like, Allah Ta'ala, forgive me, forgive my laziness, forgive my slumber, forgive all my ignorance, forgive my veils, forgive my darkness. Just forget all of that and notice on how, look, मेरे दिल के अंदर एक तकलीफ है कि मैं फजर के लिए नहीं उठी, मुझे माफ कर. Just notice this taklif in my dil. I love this taklif in my dil. Subhanallah, it's taken us years, it's taken me years to get to this taklif in my dil. ये जो तकलीफ है, ये तोहफा है. ये तोहफा है. And now what does this tofah give me? This tofah gives me is Fuaad, benefit. That means that my soul, it reminds me, Madihanur, your soul, you're not in the practice of having disciplined your soul. Every day with every nafas, which is your breath, you have to train your nafs. Subhanallah. And I will wrap up with the most beautiful trainer of nafs, subhanallah, next to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which is Hazrat Ali radhiyallahu anhu. And I just read this Hadees, and again, it's a beautiful reminder. I had read it before, but obviously, क्योंकि वो गदलापन है अंदर, तो चीजें आती हैं और उसके ऊपर से निकल जाती हैं. खूबसूरत चीजें तो आके बहुत ज्यादा जल्दी निकल जाती हैं. गन बड़ी आराम से अच्छी तरह बैठ जाता है. तो I had read this before, but I received it again, subhanallah, which was, he's in the battlefield, radhiyallahu anhu. He's drawn his sword, radhiyallahu anhu. And he's standing on top of this kafir that he's about to kill for the sake of Allah. And the kafir lying down on the ground in that battlefield spits on him. He sheathes his sword back and he walks away. And the kafir goes after him. He says, why? Why are you walking away from me? You had me. And in fact, I spat on you. Why are you walking away? It's like, till the time that I had you, till the time that you had not spat on me, I was killing you for the sake of Allah. From the time that you did spit on me, it became personal. What a trainer. What a trainer. Subhanallah. In the height of battle and in the midst of that raging blood, he could see, he could see his nafs speaking up or wanting to speak up for him. This is the training ground that we're on. This is the elevated version, but this is the training ground that we're on, subhanallah. The fact that as we walk upon the battlefields of this earth, as we enter into our relationships with strangers, people that we know, people who have hurt us a lot, with our relatives, with whoever they are, we are on a battlefield with them. And notice why we are doing what we are doing. Have we unsheathed our sword for the sake of Allah, which we do not even have a right to unsheath our sword? For the sake of Allah, you can only unsheath if they have unsheathed our swords. But then it can never be for the sake of Allah, because we are only doing it to serve our nafs. And the humility that we're asked to embrace through this, subhanallah, is sheath back your swords. Enough. Notice that you're standing in every moment that you're interacting with another human being. Because remember, the battleground of the nafs is more honored. We are shuhda when we win the jihad of the nafs. We are shuhda. Subhanallah. But which one of us has won the jihad of our nafs? None. So subhanallah again then. But in every moment that we are alive, we are on a battlefield. We have our sword, we sheathe and unsheathe them based on the calls of our nafs, and enough. My nafs will not, क्या मैं autopilot के ऊपर हूँ? इतनी आसानी से मैं respond करूँ, my nafs कहते हैं unsheathe, I unsheathe. Who is this nafs? And the only reason why that nafs ki awaz has such control and such command over me is when I'm not upon my fitrah. And at no point can I come to myself and take for granted I am upon my fitrah. I am not, because mere andar qalb. And qalb is kab, matlab he turning towards one place or the other, one side or the other, one side or the other. It cannot be stationary. So at all points, I need to invoke then Ya Mu'min, Ya Muhayyaman. At all points, I need to invoke Ya Hayyu, Ya Qayyum. At all points, I want to invoke Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim. At all times, I want to invoke Ya Aziz, Ya Hakim, because I know, and I am not protected, and I am not aware of the depths through which my nafs is looking out into the world. But I am aware of the fact that beyond and more powerful and more original than all the three cauldrons is my Rooh. And I know what it is. I know what my fitrah is. Even if I don't know it, I know it. Even if I've never felt it, I know it. I feel it. Even if I'll never meet it, I've met it. Subhanallah. Because it is the original I. Every other identity was made on top of it. This is the original I. And this original I has a very, very clear call. Come, this is the way. And it's the same call that's whispered in my ear, in the womb of my ear when I'm born. It's the same call. Subhanallah. Why? You know, look at the beauty, the symbolic beauty and the depth of this religion, and then the actual practical beauty and the depth of this religion. Which Allah Ta'ala क्या कह रहे हैं इस आया में भी उन्होंने religion, ये religion नहीं है, ये फितरा है. Look at the ayah, look at the words Allah Ta'ala has used in this ayah. He says fitratul Allah. This religion, Allah Ta'ala कहते जब मेरे देखो, it's not Islam. उन्होंने इस्लाम नहीं कहा, कहाँ कहा है इस आया में? इस्लाम नहीं उन्होंने कहा. Islam is not a religion. Islam salamati is the fitrat on which we were created. ये religion नहीं है, ये हमारी फितरत है. So when we say I am learning to be Muslim again, no, I'm remembering. It's not learning anything new. This is who we are. And to feel that the power of beyond every other sound, beyond every other vibration, beyond every other input into my eyes or any part of my body, my first input is my fitrah of Noor. That's my first original design. Uske upar sab kuch bana, ye mera base. How invincible as a human being does this have the power to give us? How invincible as warriors, not as warriors which cannot be conquered, but warriors who have already won the battle. Because yes, I will be on the battlefield of my nafs my whole entire life. Subhanallah, as Allah is my witness, and may Allah enable for me to remain on this battlefield till my very last breath. Ameen. I will be on this battlefield the rest of my life. But the fact that I know that this battlefield that I'm on is within the original Noor bed of me. So I'm actually just finding my way back home. I'm actually a creature of Noor who's fighting a battle. That's okay. That's okay. That I can, that I can surrender to. That's one of the most beautiful things that I found a way to remain and surrender. Okay, so I am a creature of light. I may have experienced many darknesses and perpetrated many darknesses. But originally I'm a creature of light. What a relief. What a relief. All the names that we give to ourselves, within ourselves, that's who we are. No, our original blueprint is I'm of Noor. Everything else came after that. Subhanallah. It is that Noor that we are seeking, not seeking, that Noor that has a voice that we are trying to remember and train our nafs to remember. through every call of azan. Every call of azan, because hayya alal falah, come, hurry. It's not even that wali na. ये भी नहीं है कि अच्छा आज आराम से आ जाओ. hayya, come, quickly, hayya, come. Falah, to what? Falah, the blossoming. Come to your blossoming. It's a rich, moist, fertile success. It's not the empty success. It's not fatah. It's falah. Did not say come to your fatah. No, come to your falah. Oh my God, let me introduce you to the depths of you. Subhanallah. Subhanallah. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin.